This month, Prime Video is positively packed with near-perfect flicks. This list features 19 movies from a broad range of genres that are either arguably perfect in every conceivable way, or they're as close to perfect as you can get. So in less time than you spend searching for something to watch every night, I'm going to connect you with 19 of the absolute best movies included with Prime Video right now.
Give me all you got! Give me all you got!
It's worth noting everything on this list is included with Prime Video without ads, but Centurion is also included for free on Tubi right now. Details like that are always included at the very end of every single video, but this stars Michael Fassbender as a Roman soldier trapped behind enemy lines after some guerrilla warfare. And there aren't really a lot of movies like this. It's actually from the same director as The Descent and Doomsday, two movies that are much more brutal than Centurion, but Centurion does get pretty rough around the edges. But this thing just pops cinematically. Michael Fassbender is always fantastic, and this came out well before he was famous. This also stars Olga Kurylenko, who actually is the lead in a sequel to this movie, or maybe a prequel. It's titled Boudica, Queen of War. That movie, even though I haven't seen it, and even though it's got fairly low ratings, it is included on Tubi for free right now if you're a fan of Centurion.
Whatever comes out of that mist, lads, you will hold the line. Hold the line!
Ashfall is an epic disaster movie from South Korea, currently included on Prime with or without ads, dubbed or subbed. They even have dubbed and subtitled options available on Tubi. But this is a somewhat recent release, and like I said, an epic disaster movie. It actually revolves around a massive volcano that's beginning to erupt, and if it completes its eruption process, it's going to destroy the entire Korean peninsula. So, a group of scientists and soldiers go on basically a suicide mission to stop it, and what you get with Ashfall isn't just like a disaster movie like Dante's Peak. You get almost like a Mission Impossible style movie. They've got to steal some of the last remaining nuclear weapons in possession of North Korea. So they've got to sneak in, steal these weapons, and then somehow deliver a payload to this volcano. Very much like the movie Armageddon. So if you like disaster movies like that, Ashfall definitely goes over the top. It gets more and more far-fetched the further you go. But if you can suspend your disbelief, this one's a lot of fun and just a real wild ride of a disaster movie, a genre that's kind of died out here in America. Even though there are way too many movies about a woman being stalked by a serial killer, I still do appreciate when there's a standout in the genre, and that's what we've got with Alone. This one was on Netflix for quite a while, but now you can find it on Prime, Hulu, and Tubi. And the title does most of the heavy lifting when it comes to the description of this movie. You follow one woman on the road by herself where she keeps getting approached by this strange man. Now, this all happens very early on in the movie. Before too long, she is captured, and the bulk of this movie is her trying to escape. Speaking of Netflix, I've recently reviewed the movie Don't Move, where a woman is stalked by a serial killer, but she's basically paralyzed. I do enjoy that movie, I recommend it, but I think Alone is superior, mainly because it stays so grounded and feels relatively authentic, even if the serial killer character maybe isn't the best. This woman's struggle certainly sells this movie.
Please let me go.
I think you're the first one to say that.
Now, any dog lovers watching, you gotta watch the Australian cult classic road flick, Red Dog.
Do you need water?
Cheeky bugger.
Just like a road movie, you follow one central character as they kind of travel across the country, meeting different characters along the way, except in Red Dog, the main character is a dog. A beautiful Australian Kelpie, to be more precise, just a beautiful dog, and they're traveling across the Australian outback, so you've got stunning cinematography, just beautiful landscapes, and again, a fantastic story. Now, it's a true blue road movie. It doesn't break or bend the genre in really any way, other than just focusing on a dog, but I'm telling you, dog lovers, you are going to love this movie up and down. Again, not a genre bender, not a mind-blowing movie, but as far as dog movies go, or even road movies, this one's damn near perfect. You can catch it on Prime, Hulu, or Tubi. I'm not going to do this for every title. All of that information's at the end of the video in the list recap, but painting the picture here that you can catch these movies on way more than just Prime. Steve Martin, not exactly known for his dramatic acting chops, but he gets a chance to flex them in the highly underrated con man thriller, The Spanish Prisoner. Now, this is written and directed by legendary screenwriter David Mamet. It's not his best film. His best is actually featured on this list. Savvy viewers may already know what that is, but The Spanish Prisoner is an excellent con man film. In fact, I think one of my favorite con man films like this is Matchstick Men with Nicolas Cage, and The Spanish Prisoner is maybe a close second. Again, for the con man specific subgenre, this one's just excellent. Lots of twists and turns. I will say it's fairly slow paced and pretty dry. As long as you don't mind that though, this one's really interesting and intriguing and is going to catch you by surprise multiple times from beginning to end. You've also got, again, that dramatic Steve Martin performance, which is kind of a rarity and somewhat of a special treat. Maybe it's just me, but it doesn't seem like there are many good movies based on the work of Edgar Allan Poe. However, there's a widely overlooked flick where John Cusack plays Edgar Allan Poe, investigating murders based on the writings of Poe. It's a fictional story, it's titled The Raven, and it makes for a pretty killer murder mystery period piece. Even if I think John Cusack as Edgar Allan Poe is maybe imperfect, the movie otherwise is pretty excellent. In fact, it reminded me a lot of the Johnny Depp Jack the Ripper movie From Hell, a movie that I think kind of largely missed the mark. You get a very similar tone with The Raven, even though this one is set in the United States and revolves around fictional murders. It's still a much more successful murder mystery movie than From Hell was. And even though it is a work of fiction, it does seem to nail that Edgar Allan Poe vibe where a lot of other movies fail.
No matter how this ends, I will kill him.
Mads Mikkelsen stars in and carries a bunch of great movies, but none are quite as raw and dramatic as The Hunt. In this movie, he plays a well-respected and loved school teacher who's accused of doing something horrific to one of the young girls at his school. Now, what's so interesting about The Hunt is the way they set this up. You know, basically for a fact that he did not do this, which puts you in his shoes for the duration of the movie. You see what it's like to be accused of something you didn't do, and eventually people that love and respect him begin to turn against him pretty strongly, and it all feels grounded and authentic in The Hunt. So this one's ultimately a pretty disturbing one, but not for the reasons you would think based on what this movie's about. It's disturbing because I think most of us could see ourselves siding with everybody else in this movie, yet the filmmaking and the writing here, again, puts you in the shoes of someone who is wrongfully accused, and they do it in just an incredibly impactful way. Now, this is from Denmark. They're not speaking much English in this movie at all, so you will have to read subtitles. It's not really the type of movie to have a dubbed version available, but it's one of the only ones like that on this list. If you've enjoyed any crime movies from South Korea, you have got to see what I consider to be the top of the heap with The Gangster, the Cop, the Devil. In this movie, a legendary gangster and a cop have to team up to help take down a serial killer. And while this movie does feature some action and some fight sequences that are, martial arts based, they're not very realistic, the movie overall stays pretty damn grounded. It's also a top-notch production. I mean, you got incredible cinematography, two fantastic characters kind of leading this thing off, a dynamite story, again, some kind of unhinged action for a movie like this, but it doesn't overpower it. In fact, this movie's got a really fantastic balance between being entertaining, fairly grounded and realistic in its crime setup, while also being, just over top enough to feel like it's got a bit more gas in the tank than a true crime story would. Just top-notch stuff, available all over the place with subtitles or dubbing. I mean, Prime Prime, Peacock, Hulu, Tubi, probably Roku. It bounces around. It's a now legendary movie that's pretty easily accessible here in the US. Released just 5 months after his death in 2014, the Philip Seymour Hoffman flick A Most Wanted Man exposes like the seedy underbelly of spycraft. Not only does this feature one of his last great performances, but it's also based on a book from the same writer as Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, and like I said, features, authentic spycraft, dirty, underhanded stuff too. This is a fairly talky movie. It's not a Mission Impossible movie or anything like that, but it's high drama stuff with a top-notch cast and a plot that you really do have to get locked into to follow. Like most espionage movies, it's full of twists and turns and a lot of details that you can easily miss if you're not locked in paying close attention. But if you are, this maybe is not the powder keg that Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy was as a film, but it's damn close. Heads up though, A Most Wanted Man is going to be leaving Prime Video at the end of September.
There's no going back for any of us.
If you like getting movie recommendations like this and you're not already subscribed, I know a lot of you are not. The stats behind the scenes actually show me most of you are not subscribed. Hitting the subscribe button is a good way to make sure you're following me so you get the recommendations while they're still available. Also, check back weekly. I post 1 or 2 videos here every single week. The number 7 spot on this list is going to go to what I consider to be the best Prime Video original movie ever released. Right here at the number 10 spot, we've got what I consider to be the second best Prime original movie, Sound of Metal. In this movie, Riz Ahmed gives an incredible performance as the drummer of a metal band who begins losing his hearing. Now, the hearing loss kicks in very early on in this movie. They give you a few minutes to kind of establish what his life is like, and then he begins losing his hearing. Now, this movie not only put me in the seat of someone losing their hearing in a way no other movie has, but it exposed me to aspects of deafness and hearing loss that I'd never considered, never heard of, and kind of blew my mind. Now, the movie heavily relies on Riz Ahmed's performance, and he's just, a top-notch actor. He carries this movie. He's well worth watching from beginning to end. The way it's written and the journey that he goes on was very unexpected and honestly very enlightening in no insignificant way. I mean, this is a fairly significant movie. Honestly, the only reason it's ranked at number 10 is maybe because of how raw and real it is. It doesn't ever really reach for anything too entertaining, but man, was this movie eye-opening and enlightening. We go to South Korea one last time on this list of near-perfect movies on Prime Video, and it's for a Godzilla homage with the cult classic monster flick, The Host. Now, this is from the same director as Snowpiercer and Parasite, and I think it's as good as either of those two movies, especially when looked at as an homage to Godzilla flicks. The Host features this giant amphibious monster that's running around, gobbling people up from very early on in the movie. It's exciting, it's got a lot of tension, there's really frightening sequences as well, but also a killer mystery that unfolds as some people are banding together to figure out what this thing is, where it is, and how to kill it. So The Host is not really a horror movie. It's got a lot of horror elements and a really fantastically designed monster, but it ends up being much more of an action-adventure movie with some pretty strong horror elements, and it's a fantastic mix of all three of those things, which is what makes it near perfect. With Paul Thomas Anderson's new film, One Battle After Another, hitting theaters any day now, it might be a good time to revisit his 2012 masterpiece, The Master, featuring my favorite performances from both Philip Seymour Hoffman and Joaquin Phoenix. If you didn't know, this movie is loosely based on Scientology, or more specifically, loosely based on L. Ron Hubbard, with Philip Seymour Hoffman playing that role and Joaquin Phoenix playing a new recruit or new convert to their cult. What's so fantastic about this movie is it kind of puts you in the position of Joaquin Phoenix's character, where you're not really aware you're entering a cult. And that's because it's not overtly about Scientology, rather the relationship between this new convert, this kind of wild-minded character played by Phoenix, and Philip Seymour Hoffman's like tightly controlled, Scientology leader character. The relationship between the two of them is really what this movie's ultimately about, and all the Scientology stuff is kind of just the delivery vice for the ultimate message. But all the performances from everyone, I mean, this movie's filled with so many amazing scenes you could watch just completely by themselves out of context and see some of the greatest acting you're gonna see on this entire list. Not only is this the best Prime Video original movie I've ever seen, but 13 Lives is in the running for the greatest streaming original movie ever created. There were several movies produced about the boys that were trapped in that cave in Thailand and the efforts to save them. 13 Lives is the best, without question. It's not even up for debate. Now, it does have the biggest budget and the best cast, but also, it was directed by Ron Howard. If you don't remember, he did Apollo 13, a movie that has a lot in common with 13 Lives, and I don't just mean the title. So there were so many details about this rescue effort that just were not covered in the news back when this came out. They come to light in this film, and they are mind-blowing. My goodness, this movie took my breath away, quite literally. I'm not being funny. I forgot to breathe watching this movie. What they had to do to attempt to save these boys was unbelievable. I mean, did not seem like it was going to work, and in the hands of an expert director like Ron Howard, especially for a movie like this, my goodness, the movie's claustrophobic. You feel the tension. You feel how high the stakes are at every moment in 13 Lives. As far as real movies based on real disasters or rescue efforts, more specifically, I don't think they get any better than this or Apollo 13. Just top-notch filmmaking. It really does not get any better when it comes to straight-to-streaming movies.
John, you okay? Yeah, I'm okay. Just give me a minute.
My top 6 picks on this list are not just arguably perfect in nearly every conceivable way, they also happen to be 6 of my all-time favorite movies. But first, I do want to recommend something for the dog lovers again, but this time it's today's sponsor, Sundays. As she got older, our dog Peanut stopped digesting her food and she started shedding weight immediately, which can be fatal for a little dog like Peanut. So we began experimenting with different fresh dog food brands to try to fix things. When I heard about Sundays, we switched her to that. Not only did she eat it and seem to enjoy it, but she digested it better and began putting weight back on immediately. And that's because Sundays is air-dried dog food containing 100% muscle meat, organs, and superfoods, with zero synthetics or artificial preservatives. So not only can Sundays help give your dog better nutrition than typical pet store food, but they deliver it straight to your door, saving you a trip to the store. Sundays can also save you money. Because it's air-dried, they're not spending money on refrigeration or ice packs to get it to your door. They're just focused on that short list of premium ingredients, and they pass those savings on to you. My viewers can save an extra 50% off on top of that already great deal when you use my link in the video description, or just go to sundaysfordogs.com/flick. Again, that's going to save you 50% off your first order. Your dog's going to be getting better nutrition than typical grocery store food. I strongly recommend this for dog owners, but speaking of strong recommendations, let's get to those top 6 picks on this list. Between The Godfather Part 1 and 2, Francis Ford Coppola directed a Gene Hackman thriller about a surveillance expert titled The Conversation. Not only does this movie feature a fantastic Gene Hackman performance and a pretty incredible story that will eventually take you by surprise. I mean, this is a 1974 film. It does have kind of some pace issues that don't quite feel modern, but ultimately this movie packs a hell of a punch. On top of all of that, the sequences of surveillance are expertly directed by Coppola. He's showing you all the fine little details that go into this type of surveillance because the main character played by Hackman is meticulous almost to a fault, and that's ultimately what this movie is about. But the conversation kind of goes down a rabbit hole that you're just not going to expect. For a drama that's all talk, quite literally talking and only talking, nothing packs a punch quite like the David Mamet classic Glengarry Glen Ross.
You just cost me $6,000. $6,000 and one Cadillac. That's right. What are you going to do about it?
For starters, it's got one of the most legendary casts ever assembled. Al Pacino, Jack Lemmon, Alec Baldwin, Alan Arkin, Ed Harris, Kevin Spacey, Jonathan Pryce. My goodness. And it's about a power struggle between salesmen at a real estate office. It's a group of men, they're all at different levels in their life. They're all salesmen, they're essentially just selling condos. So, you know, the fate of the world is not at stake in Glengarry Glen Ross, yet this power struggle between all these men and the inner workings and everything that's going on is beautifully written by David Mamet and expertly acted by everyone on screen. I mean, it's quite literally Alec Baldwin's most legendary performance of all time.
Put that coffee down.
I doubt he'll ever get a chance to top it because things like this just aren't written for actors that often anymore. I mean, anybody that considers himself a film buff, a movie nerd, if you're into drama, acting, even stage performances, which this was before it was a film, you have to see Glengarry Glen Ross. It is required viewing.
Stole the leads, they stole the phones, they stole the...
When I talk to the police, I get nervous.
You know who doesn't?
No, who?
Thieves.
Another near perfect movie is Die Hard. It is not included on Prime Video right now, but if you like this shirt, they're only available at darrenvandam.com/shop, along with all these other fantastic designs. The shirts are ridiculously soft. They are a fitted design, so if you like your shirts snug, they're great. If you like them a bit loose, definitely go a size up. It's a great way to support the show while also, you know, sporting the movies that you love. One of the greatest cop flicks of all time features knockout roles from Guy Pearce, James Cromwell, Danny DeVito, Kevin Spacey, and one of my all-time favorite Russell Crowe performances in the highly rewatchable L.A. Confidential. I know I left Kim Basinger out. There's nothing against her. She just doesn't really even have that many lines in this movie. But it's an excellent period piece about cops in L.A., a bunch of fantastic characters, not just good performances, but the characters that were written for those guys are all incredible. And all the characters are nuanced in ways that you just don't get out of cop dramas anymore. They really don't make movies like this anymore. So in addition to some of the cases and the controversy all going on behind the scenes with this movie, you also get some just knockdown, drag-out shootouts, including the one at the climax, which is just fantastic, not to mention the top-notch cinematography that goes along with all of it.
I just want to solve this thing, even if it means paying the consequences.
I know as well as anybody that plotless indie art house films can be a bit of a bore. But my number 3 pick, Buffalo 66, is anything but dull. This is a masterpiece written and directed by Vincent Gallo, who also plays the main character. In this movie, he plays a man recently released from prison. And when I say recently, I mean he has literally just had enough time to go to the bathroom. He decides to kidnap Christina Ricci. You know, so he has a girlfriend to bring home to his parents who don't know that he's been in the slammer all this time. The chemistry that develops between them throughout the arc of this movie is not only fantastic, but it's ultimately largely what drives this movie and what it's about. His parents, though, my goodness, incredible performances by Ben Gazzara and Angelica Houston. They're just incredible together in this movie. Incredibly horrible parents, I guess I should say. The movie's also got cameos from Mickey Rourke, Rosanna Arquette, Jan Michael Vincent, and ultimately packs a hell of a punch in a way I was never expecting the first time I saw this movie, and in a way I have thoroughly enjoyed watching and rewatching over the years. Buffalo 66 is legitimately one of my top 10 all-time favorite movies, and you can catch it on Prime Video right now for a limited time.
What is this? Is this a shifter car? I cannot drive a shifter car, right? So we got a little situation here. I can't drive these kind of cars. Have you ever heard of Cadillac? Cadillac Eldorado? That's what I drive. I drive cars that shift themselves. My cars shift themselves.
Speaking of my favorite movies, though, anyone that's been a long-time viewer knows my all-time favorite movie is Goodfellas. It's not included on Prime right now. It is over on Tubi, just so happens to be. And even though we never got a true sequel to Goodfellas, we do have a solid spiritual sequel with Martin Scorsese's Casino. A movie that I do not think is as perfectly glued together as Goodfellas, but my goodness, is it maybe more entertaining. I mean, the soundtrack rips by itself on this movie. One of the best, most legendary soundtracks in movie-making history. I think it features 60 incredible tracks that literally take you on a trip through time. Like multiple decades get covered in this movie chronologically. Not to mention just the dazzling Las Vegas cinematography in Casino. My goodness. And then you just performances from everyone up and down the ticket. Obviously, De Niro and Pesci are great. Like, they've always been great together. They're amazing in this movie. And they're together in it a lot more than they are in some of the other movies. But Sharon Stone, James Woods, Don Rickles, even my favorite movie reviewer of all time, John Bloom, has a cameo in this.
Why didn't you pull the machines? Why didn't you call me?
Well, it happened so quick. 3 guys won. I didn't have a chance to call
Oh,
you.
you see the scam? You didn't see what was going on?
Well, there's no way to determine that,
Yes,
Sam.
there is. An infallible way. They won.
Not only is my number one pick on this list perfect, and not only is it the best cops and robbers movie of all time, but Michael Mann's Heat is about to get a true sequel directed by Michael Mann himself. I mean, this movie is quite literally perfect in almost every sense of the word. The way it's filmed, the way it's written, the way it's acted, the way the shootouts are executed are largely considered to be the most expertly done in a movie ever. In fact, the downtown LA shootout is often used as a training video as to how to engage in urban warfare and retreat from fire effectively. So it's realistic in ways that other movies are not, but it's not a detriment to the movie. It's still a top-notch, entertaining movie filled to the brim with top-notch drama that never feels dry. The movie keeps on moving, and I mean, for when it was released, it is easily one of the most stunning movies to have come out for like the entire decade. Like, movies did not look like this in the 90s. They often do now, but my goodness, this thing was ahead of its time, and I cannot wait to see what we get in terms of a sequel. Heat is only on Prime Video for the next 2 weeks, though. It is moving to Paramount Plus on October 1st. Here is a recap of the list, along with all the streaming services currently hosting these titles in the US, Canada, the UK, and Australia, here for your convenience. If you get value out of these videos, clicking the like button is a great way to help support the channel. It's very low effort and it helps a ton, but I'll keep making these videos as long as y'all keep watching them. Thanks for watching this Prime Video episode, and you will see me on the next one.